Anthony William, the medical medium, Liver 369. Going to talk about the cleanse, going to answer questions about it. Really important to know. Going to talk about our livers, all of it. Got my celery juice right here, drinking it as we're going along. I hope you guys have yours too. So here we are. It's a great Sunday morning for many and Sunday afternoon for many. So glad we're here. So the liver needs a lot of care. It needs a lot of help. And we forget about this, or we don't even realize this, or we're not taught about it. And, you know, it's not taught something in school about, hey, you got to take care of your liver. In fact, school is kind of something that even, you know, school is high stress. And it's amazing how it works. Like, you're going to the university, you're going to college, and you're under tremendous stress, and the workload is huge, and the adrenaline is pumping, and all that corrosive, toxic adrenaline is flooding the liver, destroying it, basically. So it's our lives are not liver friendly. They never were. Or we have to work jobs under stress, and we're under financial stress and all kinds of other different things. And we're always up against the gun. We're you know, everything that people are doing, and then we're up against toxins. So we're up against environmental stress, or people that are stressing us out, or, you know, we're exposed to poisons like chemicals like pesticides, herbicides, fungicides everywhere. You don't think you're exposed to them? Yeah, you are. They're on brand new clothes you go shopping for, and they're just laced on clothes. They're on, you know, they're on things that we purchase every day. They're sprayed with nanotechnology. We get it on our hands. We're just, look, it's a world where we're exposed all the time to poisons and toxins, and it happens all the time. So, and then our foods, we get all the different pollutants in our foods. I mean, our waterways are polluted. You know, so it's endless in every avenue to exposure and what we're up against. So our livers take all that in, from pumping gasoline at the gas station, to inhaling fumes, to cooking in the gas grill, to, you know, gas stoves, to all of that. We breathe in the fumes. We're on the highway. We're breathing in diesel fumes from trucks. It's just endless. Perfumes, colognes, air fresheners, plug-in air fresheners, candles that are scented. You know, we walk into stores that are completely toxic with all that chemical smell. And sure, it may not bother many of you, and chemical sensitive people it bothers, but the point is it's there, getting into everyone, and the liver is sponging it up. Sponging it all up. And then the antibiotics we took 10 years ago, that's still inside the liver. The thyroid medications we take, still inside the liver. All the pharmaceuticals we take, the statins, the high blood pressure medication, high cholesterol medication, all of that, the statins, all of that, our liver sucks up and absorbs. The benzodiazepines for all the anxiety, the anti-inflammatories, all of it gets drawn into the liver. So that's why it's critical to get the Liver 369, the cleanse and everything, get the liver rescue and learn about this so you can actually protect your liver. All illness stems from our liver. All of it. Doesn't matter if it's Hashimoto's thyroiditis. Comes from the liver, from the Epstein-Barr sitting inside the liver to begin with, the liver getting problematic before it even affects the thyroid. Information that I've only put out there. So, you know, lupus, rheumatoid arthritis, gout, diabetes, eczema, psoriasis, it doesn't matter really what it is. It all has the foundational beginnings, stems from the root, which is the liver, and that's what we're talking about right here. So, someone just said, if you suspect hypothyroidism, 369, absolutely, because it all stems from the liver. So it's that important. And when the liver gets toxic, filled with pharmaceuticals and poisons and heavy metals, anything, dental work, dental procedures, if someone just squirts in, if a dentist puts lidocaine in your jaw to just, you know, to put a composite in your tooth, that lidocaine goes into the liver and it sits in the liver. So how much dental work have you had over the years? I mean, that alone, how many times have you had the Novocaine, the Carbocaine, the lidocaine, the Septicaine? Don't ever go near Septicaine. I've told that many times. I've talked about that in Radio Show Cop podcast. Tell your dentist, you know, that's the one you don't want to use. And it's incredible how it works. And so we get such an overburdened liver. And then our diets are filled with high fats. So lots of fats. And we're told, oh, that's healthy. You know, high fats in our diet. So we're just doing the fats and we're doing the fats. And then that's getting our liver into trouble too. And it always does, and it always has, because we've been on the high fat diets for centuries. And it's always been the liver's the liver's Achilles heel. So we have to realize we're constantly bombarding our livers and bringing them down. So what are we going to do for the liver? What are we going to do? Get the liver rescue. Can't afford a book. Go to the library. Get on social media. Ask somebody in the community, one of the medical medium members. They'll probably get you a book. I've seen that a lot. I've seen a lot of members of the community, medical medium community, both on Instagram and Facebook. I've seen them like, hey, you can borrow my book. Hey, listen, I have a spare copy. Hey, whatever. So just try to get a book. So here's the other thing too. So we're told now, this is one of the myths that are out there. We're told we don't need a detox. We don't need to detox our liver. We just need to eat better and our liver detoxes. Well, that would be great if we were living in a pristine, perfect environment. If our world was perfect, if our lives were perfect. We've needed to cleanse and detox our liver now for over 2,000 years because our liver gets filled with heavy metals and toxins of all kind. And then the industrial age of the 1700s, all the different pollutants, the dioxins, all the chemicals that we're up against that's been in our waterways and been in our bodies, and the mercury that we pass down from generation to generation to generation. You have to know we passed down a lot of mercury to our ancestors, passed it on down to us. And that mercury's in our cells. And we pass it on down the line. We have to break the cycle someday. We have to clean the liver to break the cycle. You're worth it. It's important. Someone said sinus infections. Yeah, sinus infections, that's strep. You see in the subtitle right here, it says strep, and it'll talk about sinus infections. In fact, in the back, it'll even say what supplements to take for sinus infections. So it's a little touch about what's in this book. So if you don't know the liver rescue, it's loaded with information on what supplements to take for different problems. Here's sinus infections right there. Sinus infections, even though it might be backwards on you, I think, for the moment. It shows all the supplements, the dosages to take for it, and how it's related to the liver. That's just one thing. Never mind so many other things in here, too. There's SIBO in here. There's everything. So the bottom line is, let's go into this. I'm going to answer questions, too, in a little bit, all 369 questions. So we do need to cleanse. We do need to detox. We do need to clean up our livers. But we have to do it where we don't do it wrongly. We have to protect our liver. We have to make sure we're not only protecting our liver, but we're protecting our brains when we do a cleanse. A lot of times the cleanses out there and the detoxes out there, they saturate us with their own poisons, including sometimes the concoctions are poisonous too in the alternative movement for cleansing. And we saturate our own cells with all these toxins and all these poisons. Our brain cells get saturated with these chemicals that come out of our liver. So we have to do it carefully, properly, in a nice way that the liver can appreciate and actually utilize and help us along the way to heal. So let's go into that a little bit. We do need to cleanse, without a doubt. We need to cleanse properly so we're not poisoning ourselves. These are important foundational pieces. So I want to talk about something right here, a little thing. I'm going to read right out of Liver Rescue 369 right now. You're not supposed to feel like you've been brought down to the depths of hell on a cleanse. For one, that puts your adrenals and in turn your liver through too much. Now, what that means is, I read that out of Liver Rescue 369. If you're doing a cleanse and it's putting you through hell, absolute hell, then it's not going to be the right cleanse. Okay, now the Liver Rescue 369 is still a cleanse, so you might feel a little bit sometimes. Someone might feel a little bit nauseous. Somebody might feel a little bit bloated. They might get something like that while they're cleansing their toxic liver. But if you're like on one of these cleanses and one of these detoxes and they're really intense, and you've been doing a 30-day cleanse and it's got all these concoctions in it and all these powders, and you're sick in the guts and you're totally, all of it included, you're not supposed to be doing that. You shouldn't be doing a cleanse that's bringing you down to the depths of that level of hell. So you have to remember that. So your adrenals, they overload, they flood if you do a cleanse like that. So if you overdo it and you push yourself too far, your adrenals can literally push out all this adrenaline, flood all this adrenaline, and hurt your liver even more. So that happens too. So we have to remember that when we do an unhealthy cleanse that's created by just a man-made ideal thought or whatever of what your body needs without knowing what your body needs or without knowing what causes illness, and you're subscribing to one of those and you're doing one of those, it could push you too far. And it could push your liver too far and your adrenals too far, flooding your system with corrosive adrenaline and hurting the liver even more. So let's talk about the Liver Rescue Morning. That's inside Liver Rescue. Liver Rescue Morning is all about letting your liver cleanse in the morning, get rid of the poisons. So here's how it works. You go to bed at night, and if you ate a high-fat dinner at night, which everybody eats pretty much, I mean, there's very few people that don't eat high fats for dinner at night. Okay, so that's one thing, which is going to lead to a question I want to answer later about what happens if you don't have fats in your diet. Does it make you susceptible to aneurysms or something out of stroke? But no, it's the opposite. It's the high fats in our diets that have that's the whole world is on a high fat diet, and people are loaded with aneurysms. They're loaded with strokes, and they get strokes all the time. The emergency rooms are filled with all that. So we eat the high fat dinners at night. That happens to basically everybody. And then your liver's pumping all this bile. It's producing all of this bile, overworking itself throughout the night when it's supposed to be resting. When it's supposed to be resting and then working on cleaning the poisons out. So we never give our liver a chance to cleanse on a daily basis. So when someone says, oh, you don't need a detox, just eat a healthy dinner, eat a healthy lifestyle of food, then you're never gonna let your liver ever cleanse. It's not going to happen. So this is how it works. You eating lighter at night is a good thing. Lower the fats for your dinner. That's a good thing. Cut them 50% in half. That's a good thing. It's all helpful to the Liver Rescue Morning. And in the morning, your liver's working on packaging up the toxins, pushing them out of your body, getting you healthier, getting you cleaned up, and that's what it's doing. But if you wake up in the morning and you put butter in your coffee, you just stopped your body's ability to detox 100%. You're not going to detox. The minute you put that fat, which is butter, in your coffee, or put that butter on that piece of toast or that gluten-free bagel, or put that avocado on your bagel if you're vegan or plant-based, or ate an avocado in the morning in your smoothie if you're plant-based, or had eggs if you're not plant-based in the morning first thing, you just bombarded your liver with fat. Now it's producing bile. If it's producing bile in the morning, how is it possible for it to actually push out the poisons it packaged up through the night? How is it going to get the poisons into your bloodstream and out of your bloodstream? How is it going to get it even flushed out? It's not possible. So the Liver Rescue Morning, which I talk about in Liver Rescue here, what it does is it protects you so you don't eat fats first thing in the morning. So you can eat your fats later at noon, or you have to wait till noon at least. And this isn't intermittent fasting. You can still have your celery juice, you can still have your lemon water, you can still have your fruit smoothie, you can still have fruits, you can still have something else, your gluten-free bagel, you can still have your oatmeal if you want your oatmeal, just don't put peanut butter on your oatmeal. You can have your lemon lime water, but you don't want things like the peanut butter on your oatmeal because your liver is going to produce bile. And when it produces bile, your fast is over. Not fast, your detox is over. Your daily detox of what someone will say, well, so maybe a trainer or a health coach or a professional or a functional medicine doctor might say, no, your body's detoxing. It detoxes every day. Just eat fruits and vegetables, eat healthy, stay away from processed foods or fried foods, and your body will detox. No, that's not how it works. The minute you put a fat in your breakfast, which I call radical fats, whatever that might be, a little avocado, butter in your coffee, might be anything like that. Whatever you're doing, an egg, you stop your detox. And what happens is, all that's great when you're 19 years old. All that's great when you're 20. All that's great when you're 21 and you're working out and you feel pretty good. All that's great when you're 25. When you're 35, when you're 38, and disease is starting to occur and you're getting real problems and problems are starting to occur because of all those years of never letting your liver detox. It's why so many people are sick at age 40. It's why so many people are sick at age 45. It's why so many people are sick, because they have these different levels of that. Different levels of being able to tolerate killing their liver every morning, every decade of their life, without being taught that, look, you've got to give it a break. You got to give it that Liver Rescue Morning. And because they're not taught that, It's like the same thing. You know, I've been doing this for over 35 years. I've been doing this since I was a kid, and I've had to watch it all happen. I've had to watch it to people who were 20 years old and now they're 35 and they're suffering with something and they don't know how they got there. Or dealing with people that are now 40 when, 20 years ago, they were doing all this different stuff, and it's the same thing now. There's people putting butter in their coffee every morning. They're eating their egg every morning. They think they're doing healthy. They're working out. They feel good right now, but then they age quick. They start getting the heart palpitations, the fatigue. They start getting the weight gain later on when they're in their 30s. It's endless, but you can avoid all that. Just take care of your liver. That's the whole point. I'm totally into preventative. But I'm into more than that. I'm into fixing problems that have occurred. You just got to read the whole book, Liver Rescue, from front to back, so you can learn how to fix the problems that have occurred. So Liver Rescue Morning is about hydrating. Liver Rescue Morning is about hydrating the blood, getting the poisons out. It's about having your celery juice to bind onto the poisons, because the sodium cluster salts in celery juice bind onto the poisons and pull it out of the body. It's about the lemon lime water. If you can't drink celery juice, drink some cucumber juice. That will help actually at least hydrate you. There's things you can do to take care of yourself. It's about eating some fruits in the morning, maybe some melons, maybe some watermelon, some papaya, some mango. It's about doing things like this. It's about making sure that you're prepping yourself also for the 369, because the Liver Rescue Morning preps you for the 369, which I'm going to answer questions to in a little bit. So that's how it works. And when you don't put in those radical fats first thing in the morning, you don't dump those radical fats in, you don't get your liver to have to produce, you don't force it to produce bile and shut down your cleanse for the day and shut down your detox of the day, you can literally work on even reversing illnesses that you have now. Illnesses I talk about on the back of the book and in the front of the book. All of that. You actually reverse these illnesses. And that's how important it is to have your Liver Rescue Morning. And now let's go into 369 a little bit. The first 3 days of the Liver Rescue 369 is to prep your liver. Make it safe, feel safe. Get it ready. Feed it the glucose it needs to actually do a cleanse. It's protecting you. It's revving up the liver. It's getting it going. It's starting its process of healing. It's starting its ability. It's actually waking it up. It's stimulating it. So the first 3 days of the 369 is stimulating and waking up your liver. And that's important to know. It's actually a big deal. So the first 3 days is really important. And you can do the Liver Rescue Morning for a couple of weeks before you even get to those first 3 days of the cleanse. And that's what I recommend. I recommend doing that. So the second 3 days of the cleanse, which is the 6th, that's when the guts of the liver are starting to actually push out poisons. That's when the cells are releasing poisons. That's when the fat cells are loosening up, because everybody's livers are filled with fat. You can be in top shape. You can be totally cut, top shape, toned up, working out every day. Doesn't seem like you got a scrap of fat in your body, but your liver can be fatty. It can be completely fatty. It just so happens it hasn't gotten to the point where it's going to start showing up on the body. When we gain weight on the body, that means our liver was getting fatty and is fatty inside. So that's how it works. So don't get fooled by somebody who's not overweight in the moment. It doesn't mean they don't have a stagnant liver, sluggish liver, or a fatty liver. And so there's different parts of the liver too that can be fatty. So there's certain parts of the liver in everybody's liver that can be more fatty than another part. And that also determines if they're going to gain weight on the outside or not. So the deal is the second part of the cleanse, which is the 6th. So those 3 days of this cleanse is when the poisons are breaking free. They're loosening up. They're actually surfacing. They're getting ready to come out into the body, into the bloodstream. They're getting ready to leave the liver. This is when they're uprooted. This is when the pharmaceuticals, the old pharmaceuticals from the day, are being uprooted. This is when the old toxins from hairsprays, from colognes, from chemicals and everything we're exposed to cleaners, to spray cleaners in the house that are conventional, to gasoline fumes, to everything that's been saturated inside our liver, killing our livers for so long, the fungicides, the pesticides, the herbicides that we take in every single day. When that's actually loosening up, and the fat cells are loosening up and starting to break down and disperse and explode, because that's what's going on. The fat cells inside the liver start to explode, these toxic fat cells, and they're filled with poisons, toxins, inflammation. They're filled with adrenaline. It all starts getting loosened up on the day 6, which is the second 3 days of the cleanse. It starts to loosen up and get ready. And then day 9, or the last 3 days, which is 7, 8, 9, the last 3 days of the cleanse. And those last 3 days is when the poisons come out. They come out of the liver, carefully out of the liver. They're not forced. They're not rushed out of the liver. They're carefully being delivered in the way that the liver wants to be cared for so it can look after you. So it's not flooding the brain with poison. So you have an ability to get them out of the body and really do something about your health, really reverse your conditions. This is a critical aspect of healing. So that whole thing with the 9, the part of the cleanse, the last part of the cleanse, is removing the poisons into the bloodstream and out of the bloodstream carefully and safely without them getting drawn back into the liver. And that's what happens to everybody every day. It happens to everybody who wakes up in the morning living their life, and they're going to do their workout, or they're going to go to their job, and they end up having butter, or they end up having cheese in the morning, or they end up having an egg, or they end up having an avocado, or they end up having coconut butter, or they end up having something in their smoothie, a nut butter in their smoothie. What happens is they just shut down any detoxing. They just lost one more day in their life where their liver's never going to detox. And it builds up every day for decades and years. And some people, it kicks them in the ass early in life when they're in their 20s, and boom, it hits them hard. Some people, they get lucky and they skate to when they're 40 or 50. And then they're just running to doctors thinking they have all these hormone problems and everything else going wrong. And it gets crazy when it's just the liver being severely toxic. So the bottom line is that this is one great cleanse that's easy on the body, easy on your system, can help you move forward, can help you heal and recover. The Liver Rescue 369. But I recommend reading the book from cover to cover. It's so packed with information and how to heal different illnesses that are caused by liver problems, which are basically everything. All illness stems from the liver. Very important to understand. So I have to answer all these questions. We're going to do that now. Just going to talk about on the last 3 days of the cleanse, what really happens is those poisons get driven out of the body and they don't get sucked back up into the liver. And that's what happens with other cleanses. That's what happens on a daily basis for everybody. We don't really get a chance to detox. If we think we're detoxing every day and that's what's happening and everything's working fine, we're not. We never get the liver a chance to cleanse. So important. You're going to do your second 369 in the spring. I'm so proud of you. That's incredible. You did the first one. Amazing. Just saw somebody say that. And I'm watching comments, believe it or not, you guys, even though I'm talking to you about all this stuff, I am watching comments and things. I just want to get this information out to you. Anybody new to this information, pick up Liver Rescue 369, do something about your health, and get the information you need. If you can't afford a book, go to the library, ask somebody in the medical medium community for help. I'm sure somebody will lend you the book. There's so many loving, compassionate people in the medical medium community. It just blows my mind. It really does. So I'm going to answer some questions. So I'm confused about the recipe for lime water and lemon water. The lime water uses 2 limes for 16 ounces, and the lemon water in other places uses a half lemon per 16 ounces. Should I increase the lemon? You know, lemons are usually large, so they're usually a good size lemons. And so because of that, you can cut a large, juicy lemon in half. And if you squeeze it really good, you get a lot of lemon juice. If you squeeze a whole lemon in a glass of 16 ounces of water, I mean, you can use a whole lemon, that's fine. It's a lot of lemon juice. So what happens with the limes is sometimes they're so small. I actually see one on my counter right here, but I don't want to reach way over there and get it. There's really small ones over there. You'll get them so small and there won't even be any juice in it. So that's just a way of saying, look, because most people get limes, they're not juicy. You cut them in half, you have to squeeze really hard or put them in, have to figure out a way to get the juice out of them. Sometimes you'll find a big, ripe, juicy lime, and then yes, a half of a big, ripe, juicy lime might do the trick, but sometimes it just doesn't, and you need the whole lime versus a half a lemon. So that's something to know. But the lemon lime water is so important because it really does flush the liver. Now, there's no science and research behind lemon and lime flushing the liver because it originates from me. That's the whole point. And it became law. It's one of those things, just like the celery juice that's escaping now into the world that has no science and research behind it, but yet it's helped millions heal. This is information that comes from me originally. So people have been squeezing lemon in their water long before I was born, okay? That's not what I'm saying. It's lemon water flushing out poisons out of the liver and out of the body. That originated from medical medium information, just in case you're new to that and the whole bit. And it came from literally over 30 years ago from me helping others and so forth when I was younger. So let's go back into this whole thing. Can the apples be juiced, or do they need to be eaten whole? Really good question. I'd rather have you eat them whole in this 369 cleanse. I think it's really important for a lot of reasons, because as you're going through the cleanse, the pectin is binding on to some of the poisons and toxins. That's the whole point. So I rely on that pectin. If you remove the pectin from the apple, it doesn't help as much with this cleanse. I'm not against apple juices. I'm not against juicing apples at all. That's not it. It's just for this specific cleanse of the liver, you do want to eat the apples. Now, you can eat celery, but you need to do the celery juice. There's a difference here. The celery juice, the celery is an herb. So I have to make that clear, because I already see probably a couple of people, they're going to say, oh, wait a minute, then why are you juicing celery if the fiber is so important? Very important to understand, this is an herbal tonic. This is not a vegetable or a fruit. You're actually extracting the medicine out of the fiber. That's the medicine that heals the body, not the fiber in celery. So don't get confused about that. I'm going to talk about that in a little while. But with apples, the medicine is not just in the juice of the apple. The medicine is in the pectin. So you need to eat it. You can do applesauce too. That's really good too. Here's a question right here. Is it essential that the salads be consumed in solid form, or can I make some sort of raw soup out of the ingredients? Can I juice them? I wouldn't juice them unless you have a really extremely difficult digestive problem that, you're struggling with, where you always are on liquids anyway. If you're somebody that lives on liquids, and it's the only, because you got gastroparesis of a variety of gastroparesis, which you're literally only on liquids, then yes, you can do that. But if you're not in that condition with somebody like that, with a condition like a rare condition like that, which isn't that rare, there's a tremendous amount of cases of the gastroparesis. If you're somebody, though, that doesn't have that kind of situation going on, you can turn it into a soup, a raw soup. You can blend it, but don't juice it. You can consume it as a salad. You can juice it. You can blend it up or grind it up as a raw soup. You can do that, and I'm okay with it. It's perfectly fine. So that's all right. So we're talking, anybody new coming on, talking about liver rescue and the 369. Here's a good question. Can I do 369 while pregnant? What I always say is that I don't know the condition of your liver. So because there's millions and millions of pregnant women out there, I don't know the condition of all their livers. If you were standing in front of me right now, and then I could figure it out. And everything, but I don't know the condition of your liver. So that's between you and your doctor, to what your doctor may think is your condition of your liver or not. So what I recommend is not doing the 369 cleanse while pregnant, because you might have a liver that's filled with pharmaceuticals. You might have taken a lot of meds, a lot of pharmaceutical medications over the years, and your liver could be filled with a lot of those. And I don't want all those medications starting to cipher themselves out while you're pregnant. Same thing, like it depends on any kind of other situation with your liver. But for the most part, I'm sure many women that are pregnant, if they did the 369, they would be fine, because they may not have a liver that's oversaturated. But you could be that one person that took a lot of anti-anxiety meds over the years before getting pregnant, and it's just overloaded inside the liver. Or anti-acne or acne medication. I won't name the names of the acne medication, but there's some really, 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 really bad ones and dangerous ones. And so those could be saturated in your liver because you were on all these acne medications from the pharmaceuticals. And so, no, you don't want to do the 369. You want to talk to your doctor and get his opinion on if you should or not, because he'll know and be like, hey, Susan, you were on acne medication, thyroid medication, loads of it, or thyroid medication really doesn't matter with this, but you've been on loads of acne medication. You were on all these antidepressants all these years. I would recommend holding off that cleanse. Your doctor will probably tell you that. I don't know your personal case and the personal, where your personal, like your liver really is in the moment. Hold that off. But you can do the heavy metal detox smoothie. You can do that while pregnant. You can do the celery juice while pregnant. You can do the lemon water while pregnant. You can keep your fats low in the morning and do the liver rescue morning cleanse while you're pregnant. You can do that every single day. You can take care of your liver while you're pregnant and actually do a good job at it. You can bring in more fruits and vegetables. You can read liver rescue while pregnant and learn everything else. So you can take care of your baby when your baby's born, and you can take care of, there's so much you can do when pregnant. So that's a whole other thing there. Here's a question right here. I got so nauseous on day 5 and 6. Should you keep going or stop the cleanse if this happens? So should you keep going or stop the cleanse if you get nauseous? I would keep going. If the nausea is unbearable, then I would back off. I mean, so that's another thing too. You can back off the cleanse and start again at another time. You can take a break from the cleanse. You could be at day 6 and start getting nauseous, and then for the most part you shouldn't, because it's so gentle. It's one of the reasons why it's so gentle. It's for people who are sensitive. This cleanse is for people who are sensitive and people who are hardcore with stuff too, that want to clean up their lives and clean up their liver and clean up their health. It's for both. That's the beauty of it. It covers all walks of life. But if you're getting the nausea and it feels unbearable, and it could be from eating too many apples, or you're just not used to eating too many apples, or you're used to eating a certain way because you've been eating this other way all these years, and you feel a nausea, what you do is you take a break and you start again another time. Don't feel defeated. If you even did the first 3 days, you're actually helping your liver. Remember that, even if you did the first 3 days. So go back to the first 3 days again. You could start again that, So during the last 3 days, there's another question here. During the last 3 days, I was craving so many bad foods. What are these cravings indicating? There's a lot of reasons that could happen. One is emotions are released in the cells of the fat that's being dispersed out of the liver. Your liver has all these toxic fat cells, and they're filled with corrosive adrenaline from hardships. If you had a heartache, if you had a breakup with a relationship, if you lost your boyfriend, you lost your girlfriend, or you had a divorce one time, or whatever it is, the amount of adrenaline surging through your body saturates the liver, and it saturates deep in there and becomes corrosive and toxic, and it saturates in fat cells too. So when you start doing this cleanse and you're starting to lose weight, because this cleanse helps you lose weight, talk about Liver Rescue 369 if you just got on here. If you're starting to lose weight, there's emotions that are being released. There's adrenaline being released in those fat cells that are being dispersed all throughout the body. And that's what people are up against. So that can trigger off emotions. It can trigger off a little sadness. It can trigger off a craving for food. It can trigger off some kind of emotional yearning to try to calm it down or to try to ease it off. And that's what it can do. So, that's a question right there. So I got more questions. You guys are open to some more questions. Best way to transition after the cleanse. So what's the best way? That's a good question. There's no easy way to answer it because you have to read the book for that. You really have to thoroughly read. I have a section right after the cleanse that walks you through step by step on how to transition out of this cleanse. I'm not going to do it justice by communicating this way on Facebook Live. So you really have to just sit down with the book for that and just read it. Here's a question right here. Can I include the liver rescue broth during days of 4 through 9 of the cleanse? I would wait and do it after the cleanse. The liver rescue broth, I would wait until after the cleanse. It's a perfect transition food. It's an amazing food you can utilize. A healing one that's incredible after the cleanse. In fact, it can help you after the cleanse. So that's how great that is. You should totally do that. Another question here. It's my understanding that avocado fat is unlike any other. If trying to avoid fats during the morning due to them inhibiting nutrient absorption and preventing detox, should avocado be avoided as well? So avocado is a healthier fat. Pumpkin seeds are healthier fats. Avocado is. Hemp seeds are healthier fats. Sunflower seed is even a healthier fat, even though it has even a higher content of omega-6, which is the one I don't like as much. But the whole point is that these healthy fats you want to keep out. It's so important. Yes, even if it's an avocado, because what's going to happen is if you're doing the avocado fat during a morning where you're trying to actually keep yourself fat-free, your liver's still not going to cleanse. So that's really important to know right there. Here's a question right here. Let's see. Can skimping on the fat long-term affect brain vessels? Can it cause aneurysms? Some doctors advise against low and no fat diets because they believe this. Well, they believe it with no information to back it up, no information to understand it, because their practices are filled with people on fats. So you have to remember that. That's how it works. Their practices are filled with people on high-fat diets. Everybody's on a high-fat diet. When do you know somebody that doesn't eat an animal protein during the day? Well, that's high-fat. When do you know a vegan who doesn't have avocado during the day? When do you know a vegan that doesn't have some peanut butter during the day? When do you know anybody, whether they're high-protein, vegan, vegetarian, keto, that doesn't have an egg or doesn't have peanut butter or doesn't have coconut oil or doesn't have something? They're all on high-fat diets. So doctors' practices are 99.9999% based on people eating high fats. So where's this information coming from? Is it coming from one person in their whole practice that had an aneurysm that was on a low-fat diet for a little while in their life? And how long were they even on it? Here's the other thing. When the rest of their practice is filled with people with aneurysms that are all on high-fat diets. I mean, I know doctors, I know surgeons, and they're digging aneurysms out of people's brains with machines, with robots during surgeries, complicated surgeries, which is incredible about the aspect of science that is. And they're doing that, and they're all on high-fat diets. And many of them are exercising on healthy high-fat diets. I talk to doctors all the time, and they're like, they know guys that drop dead of heart attacks. And they're like 38 years old, best shape of their life. They're swimming, they're running, they got muscles, they got everything, and they're dropping dead of heart attacks or strokes. And they're on high-fat diets. So I don't know what that information even is comprised of, or it's really just an opinion because of the trend being supported right now of being high fats are good. You gotta keep them like under wraps. You can't be overdoing the fats, or you're just gonna kill your liver over time, set yourself up for problems, heart disease and everything else. So that's important. It's not that I'm against fats. I'm against overusing them. And then avoiding the things you really need, like the wild blueberries, like so many important things, you guys. So, and the celery juice, of course. So let's go into another question. What option is there if I'm allergic to or can't get pitaya? Pitaya is dragon fruit. That's the red dragon fruit, miraculous fruit that's in the cleanse here at the 369. It's in the liver rescue smoothie. You put the pitaya in there. So if you can't get it, or you feel like you're allergic to it, or you're allergic to it or anything, add in some frozen cherries. Do the wild blueberries in your liver rescue smoothie and add in some frozen cherries. That'll be a really good thing. If you're allergic to apples, because you might be one of those people that when you bite into an apple, your mouth itches, your mouth swells up. There's a few random people out there in the world that have a reaction to an apple. That's because long ago they had an apple that was really heavily contaminated. It was a conventional apple that had like the wax on it, the MSG and the pesticides, and they had a reaction. So every time they have an apple, the body can still react because it's going to pick up the natural things that are good in apple, and it's going to associate it with what was so bad that caused the poisoning to begin with. So that usually happens when someone's allergic to an apple, but that's rare cases. If you're allergic to an apple where you feel fine and you don't get any allergic reactions whatsoever, but the functional medicine doctor or your allergist says you're allergic to it because it shows up on a sheet of paper, I wouldn't avoid that apple just because those tests are never correct. They just aren't. And then let's go into this question here. Let's see. So what I would do, avoid the apples. I'd bring in more wild blueberries. You could bring in some frozen cherries. Frozen cherries will make you go to the bathroom, so you got to be careful how many you use. So that might bloat you up because frozen cherries have so much fiber in it, and so much fiber in it, believe it or not. They just run right through you, so you got to look out. Can I drink celery juice throughout the Liver Rescues 369? Yes, you can. I'm drinking mine now. Absolutely. Celery juice is amazing. You can drink it all through the 369. It helps your liver, pulls out poisons out of the body. Celery juice is a miracle, and it's actually saving lives around the globe right now. Thank you, Spirit, who brought it to us. Back when I was younger, in 1975, and a little kid, and Spirit said, get the celery juice going for a family member who has a back injury to get the inflammation down. So we threw it in blenders and we blended it up and we strained it and we got the inflammation down, and I've been recommending celery juice ever since 1975. Okay, can I have the heavy metal smoothie during the 369? That's a really good question, heavy metal detox smoothie. So the medical medium heavy metal detox smoothie one of the most powerful ways of getting toxic heavy metals out of our bodies, out of our livers, out of our brains. That's another powerful medical medium tool Spirit has offered. It's saving lives. And I get it. You know, we don't want to let that go while we're doing the 369. I completely understand. One of the reasons why I say hold it away of the 369 is because then the person might not do the liver rescue smoothie. So it's tricky. So if you really think you can do the liver rescue smoothie and still do a heavy metal detox smoothie too, and still do both, if you really think you could do that during your day, then yeah, I would say, okay, you can do it. But if it's really, it could be overwhelming. It's a lot of food. It's a lot during the cleanse. You might be like, how can I make both? When can I do them? And it might confuse you or overwhelm you, and you might end up missing the liver rescue smoothie by doing the heavy metal detox smoothie. So that's why I hold it off. So I recommend keeping the heavy metal detox smoothie away from the 369 because a lot of people are going to end up they're going to get in trouble. They're going to be like, they're going to miss out on one or the other. They're going to miss out on the liver rescue smoothie, and that's what I'm worried about. So when you keep it simple, just do the liver rescue smoothie, hold back the heavy metal detox smoothie, then, you know, it's a way of actually at least ensuring you're getting that liver rescue smoothie for the liver cleansing. But if you're one of those people that can do both, and you can do the other one at a different time of the day and not miss out your liver rescue smoothie, I'd say, okay, bring in the heavy metal detox smoothie. Here's a question right here. Is it normal to be bloated on the 369? It's not normal to be bloated on the 369, but you can get bloated on the 369 because if your liver's that toxic and that problematic, then yes, you may get some bloat because you're healing the liver. Your liver's purging so much out, so many poisons out. But remember this, were you ever bloated before? Were you ever bloated before the cleanse? Is it like where you never got bloated ever in your life and then you just got bloated on the 369, but there was not one time you got bloated before? And because if that's the case, yeah, your liver's cleansing. So it's cleansing out all this poison, so it could actually get you bloated. Another thing too, if you are one of those people that's getting bloated anyway along the way, you got liver problems. So yeah, you're probably gonna bloat during the cleanse too. And right here, it's in the subtitle right here. Bloating is in the subtitle of liver rescue. So that's there. Here's a question right here. If the cleanse is over after 9 days, is it possible to do it over and over again, starting from day 1 through 9? Yes, it is. You can start from day 1 through 9. You can do the cleanse over and over again to keep on healing the liver. You can also stop the cleanse and work on the recipes in the book, Liver Rescue, and have those recipes incorporated in and take care of your liver before you do the next 369 cleanse. But you have the option of doing it over and over again, back to back. The other thing is, there's a question that comes up. If you're somebody who gets past they're at the end of the cleanse, but they don't want to go back to the first 3 days of the cleanse where you're allowed to eat fats, where you're allowed to eat avocado, where you're allowed to eat an animal protein, and they don't want to go back to that, I always recommend do just day 6 through 9. That's what I'd say. I mean, sorry, day 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So you do those parts, and you keep away the first part of the cleanse. I hope that made sense. The numbers were starting to get a little crazy. Here's a question right here. Do we strictly have to stick with the foods listed in the diet, or can we keep up our aloe water, or ginger water, or other protocol fat-free foods as long as we get in our required apple, asparagus, Brussels sprouts, and etc.? Be careful to how much you change this. It's the Liver Rescue 369 for a reason. Really important question right there. Because if you change it up too much, you're going to get lost. You're going to be bringing in other things. And I get it. These are other healthy things. They're staples in the medical medium, protocols. Not protocols. Remember that. There's no medical medium one protocol. There's protocols for every walk of life that's going on in your life right now with your conditions and health and everything. So there's so many amazing things. Yes, the ginger water and the aloe water, but be careful to how much you bring in. You could bring in some of that, like a little bit of aloe water. You could bring in some ginger water, but you got to be careful because if you change it up too much, it can alter the gift of what this cleanse really is in the moment of those 9 days. So I recommend being cautious, trying to stick to the guidelines as best you can Yes, you can use your own intuitive ability to say, okay, well, maybe I can add a little aloe water right here. It was helping me with this other thing right now, and you bring it in, but you got to be cautious. Tread lightly, stick with the rules and the guidelines of it. You know, I think someday what it may do is modify it in a careful manner for people that you can bring in some different things. But right now, this is where it's at. It's where the gold is at for you to heal. It's the goal to actually get it done. So it's really important. So that was actually the 369. You got your celery juice right here. I gave you a little rundown about it. I recommend reading the book from the first page to the last page, from the beginning to the end, because of the amount of information, so you can work on healing so many different conditions. I mean, there's so many conditions here: high blood pressure, high cholesterol, hormone problems, hot flashes. Like, it's just over and over again: lupus, methylation problems, mood issues, mystery hunger, pandas, psoriasis, eczema, rosacea, dermatitis, the list goes on, vitiligo, lichen sclerosis. I mean, I could keep on going on. Every chapter applies to every single person. You know, so Liver Rescue 369, get the book, get it out of the library if you have to. I don't care. I mean, just please find it somehow. Ask an MM community member. Celery Juice is extremely healing. It's going around. It's changing the world right now. What you're going to find is naysayers that don't understand what celery juice is. Be cautious. I always do a little reminder here, because you'll get yourself in trouble if you get scared about it because someone who doesn't know anything about health, who's never struggled in a chronic illness, who've never had a struggle, who've never been brought down to the depths of darkness and hell of being that chronically ill, when they've never experienced anything but a little touch of acne in their life and maybe a little low energy, and they sit here and they rip apart celery juice and they say you should be eating celery juice, or they go on YouTube, or they're influencers that don't understand it, and they don't understand your stories. They don't understand the people that have healed. I will say this right now: it's completely and totally insulting when people out there who have never struggled with their health yet, and they're young, and they've never struggled with their health yet on any level, start tearing down and saying celery juice isn't working and people aren't healing, when literally they're doubting. They're literally doubting the millions that are healing and the stories they're telling that aren't prompted or paid for studies. They're actually people with organic, honest stories of their life, of how they're healing with the power of celery juice, this extraction, this herbal extraction. And you'll see naysayers out there all the time. My friend just told me they're seeing them on YouTube now, where people that have, you know, a decent amount of following, or they have they're an influencer in health, and they're sitting there and they don't want to give medical medium credit because they don't want people knowing the source where they can heal, and they just say, oh, you should just be eating celery sticks, and a doctor said celery sticks are better. You know what? It's unbelievable when you see people and how they've healed and turned literally their lives around, crawled out of the depths of despair of chronic illness in every aspect of it all. And celery juice being that thing that moved the needle, that gave them that final push to actually healing. And you see it trying to be kind of like ridiculed by people who have never struggled and never suffered and never really known what it was like to ever be in that position, but yet they don't like the fact that this took off like it is. This is literally, it's threatening to topple empires, is what celery juice is doing. It's threatening to topple empires, both in the alternative movement, in the supplement world, both in the alternative movement with all kinds of different fads and trends that are supported by tons of money and financial gain and interest. This is literally toppling empires as we speak in both alternative and the conventional world, because it's an answer that's actually healing people, and they're actually getting better. I heard there was one story recently on YouTube where some influencers were saying that they drank it for a week, they consumed celery juice for a week, and they really didn't feel much difference, but they were feeling good anyway. They were young, they were feeling good anyway. They didn't really feel much difference, but they're going to keep on drinking it because they crave it now. What they're craving is something that's going to prevent them from ever getting sick down the road. And by them ripping down celery juice and saying eat the celery sticks, what they're telling you is your stories aren't real, you never healed, and you should be doing something that doesn't work. This does work. It's an herbal extraction. I'm giving you an example of some things that people bring to my attention. Friends, they call me up and they say, hey, AW, you wouldn't believe the naysayers out there. And I always say to them, there are millions of people around the globe, and there were hundreds of thousands before I even published the books that I got drinking celery juice to reverse their multiple sclerosis, their diabetes, to reverse their diseases, to reverse their ailments. And literally, you can't break that movement of people healing and they don't need science and research dictating what's right or not for them, when science and research has left millions that are chronically ill with no answers. So drink your celery juice. I love you guys. Bless your heart. Don't give up, okay? Fight the good fight of healing. I'm proud of you. Get liver rescued. Get the answers you need for your liver. All disease stems from the liver. You can heal. Bless your heart. And never forget how much I know how hard you're working, on how hard you guys are, like, you know, working on your healing process and all that you're putting into it. I love you. Love your families. And take one day at a time. God bless you.